Alrighty, let's take a look at some more comparison operators. Up until now, we have really only worked with is equal to or is not equal to, and if something is true or if something is false. And there's actually a lot more we can do. For example, we can see if something is not equal to, which we sort of dabbled in, but not formally. So we'll take a look at this one in just a little bit. We also have is greater than or equal to, is greater than, is less than or equal to. And then we have, lastly, a strict comparison operator, which we'll get to at the very end of this video. So first things first, let's look at the is not operator. Let's go ahead and comment this out. And so we need to be able to compare something is not. We've sort of looked at this before, but let's formally take a look at it now. So we have a variable, and let's say the course is equal to just a JavaScript course or something, simple to compare. And we could say, if the course is equal to JS, console.log is a JS course. And let's go ahead and make that a little smaller and refresh our page. And it says is a JS course right here. Okay, no problem with that. But what if it's not? Well, this is not going to do anything, but let's go ahead and change this. Let's say if the course is not a JS course, let's say if the course is not a PHP course. Now, this logic doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it is a good example of how to use the opposite comparison operator. We're basically saying right here, JavaScript, the string JavaScript is not equal to PHP. Are they different? It's correct. That statement is correct, so it returns true. And so what the computer sees behind the scenes is, yep, if it's true, which it is true, execute this. And so that's sort of how we get to that point using the not operator. Or the not equals operator, rather. Next, we have greater than. So let's go ahead and create an age. Age is equal to 17. And we can say, if age is greater than 10, then console.log, you can play soccer, or something along those lines. Let's go ahead and refresh, and it says you can play soccer. Now, what this is doing is, again, basically, we can replace this, saying, is 17 greater than the number 10? Yes, it is. So this statement turns out to be true. And because it's true, it will execute this block of code. Now, what happens if we said, oh, in order to actually play professional soccer, you need to be 18 or older. You can play pro soccer. Again, let's make that one step smaller. And let's give that a save. Nothing happens because this returns false. This is saying, if the age 17 is greater than 18, well, is 17 a bigger number than 18? No, this turns out to be false, so it does not execute. Remember, if statements always need that final conclusion to be true. Next, we can do the same thing, but we can say is greater than or equal to. When would we ever use this? Well, let's say your age is 18 and you need to be at least 18 in order to vote. You can vote. We can also do an else if statement here. So else if age is greater than or equal to 21, and I'm purposely setting us up for failure on this one, and I'll show you in just a sec. You can drink alcohol. It says you can vote, but this is also true. Age is also greater than 21. Now, we learned about this a little while ago, but it's always good to retouch on the fundamentals. In JavaScript, it runs from top to bottom and says, yep, this is true. This is the if statement we want to connect to, and don't worry about anything else below it. So this else if statement gets ignored. But what we can do is if we get rid of the else and just create another if statement, it still says you can only vote, but if we did this, it says you can vote and drink alcohol. Now again, where would you use something like this? Well, if you're checking someone's age, well, 18-year-olds are allowed to vote. It's not people who are greater than 18 or people who are greater than 17. In life, we say people who are 18 or older are allowed to vote. People who are 21 or older in the United States are allowed to drink alcohol. We can also do basically the exact opposite. So we could say, let's say variable, let's do something different here. Long name is equal to Caleb Tallene, so that'll be my full name. Let's not use long name because that's not a long name, but let's do full name. And we could say if full name dot length is greater than 10, console.log long name. And it says I have a long name. Okay, well, we did that one already. But what if it's less than? Less than, we could say this is a short name. And so now we can say, hey, if this name has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 characters in it, because it's less than the number 10, this will say short name. It doesn't have that. Let's go ahead and shorten my name to just my first name, and it says short name. So that's a less than operator. We can also do less than or equal to if we wanted to. So let's do var name is equal to John Smith. What do we have in here? We've got 10 characters in here. That's a perfect name, actually. I should have used that in the first example. We could do if name.length is less than or equal to 10, console.log total length is less than or equal to 10. And let's go ahead and also, let's put this on new lines because we can. JavaScript gives us all sorts of white space. Let's put this as the second parameter in here. And let's say name.length. Total length is less than 10, and we can see that the actual value here is 10. Which other ones do we have to go through? I think really the main one that we have here is the strict comparison. So all these other ones are really basic math. Is something greater than, less than, equal to? Really, that's all it is. Where it gets a little bit weird is the triple equal sign. In JavaScript, this is a strict comparison. So that means that not only does the value have to match, but the data type has to match as well. And this is actually a lot more performant. It works a lot better on your computer. It's much faster code because it doesn't have to try to determine really any other factors. It just says, hey, is this the right data type? Yes. Is this the right value in that data type? Yes. Move forward. It doesn't have to try to say like, oh, is 3 the same as 3? I mean, JavaScript doesn't know that, so it tries to figure it out. Or is true, the same as true? One is a string, one is a Boolean, and it has to sort of figure that out. Whereas if you can get rid of that using a strict comparison, your programs, your scripts will actually be a lot faster. It's not noticeably faster to the human eye. However, when you are dealing with large programs, maybe you're starting to crunch a lot of data like what Netflix does, maybe you want that kind of performance. Regardless, you're going to see a strict operator in the wild quite a bit because it is fairly common in modern JavaScript. So let's take a look at this. This is the biggest one to take note of. Age is equal to, let's say 30. And watch this. If age is equal to 30, console.log, you are 30. And sure enough, it says you are 30, despite age being a string and this being an integer or a number. Those are two different data types. And so it still works out. It still understands that, hey, yeah, this could still actually be a number as well. So this means that JavaScript is a loosely typed language. It means you can sort of mess around with it and get away with breaking some of the general rules that you would find in programming languages like C or Python. So now what happens if we do a strict comparison? If we do the strict comparison with 3 equal signs, let's make that larger. 3 equal signs, this is not going to execute. In fact, let's add an else statement. Console dot, let's do warn. Wrong data type. And let's make that smaller. So let's go ahead, save that and refresh our page. And it says wrong data type. No, why is it the wrong data type? Well, it's because we have given it a string and we're saying compare it to a number. So what this is saying is string 30 is equal to number 30. That's not the same thing. In the world of data types, they're not the same. The value is the same to a human. It is the same to a computer. It is different. And so you can sort of think of this as string is equal to number. Well, those don't work out the same. You can't compare a string to a number. That's like, so this is kind of like comparing a watermelon to a rock, I guess. Their shape might be the same, but fundamentally they're different. They're entirely different things. And so you're going to see this strict comparison a lot in the wild, and I just want you to be prepared for that. So let's go ahead and touch this up. Let's go ahead and save. Refresh, says wrong data type. And if we change this to an integer, or a number as it's called in JavaScript, it says you are 30. Even if I did 0.0, still says you are 30. If you come from another programming language, you are probably familiar with decimals or floats. In JavaScript, decimals, floats, and integers are all the same thing. Int is equal to a number. Let's go ahead and throw this on a new line as well so we can keep that in our notes. And so that is a quick little introduction, I guess. And so this was the more comparison operators lesson where we looked at does not equal, is greater than or equal to, is greater than, is less than or equal to, and a strict comparison. These are the most common operators you're going to find. It's very rare that you ever find anything other than these. And as one last example here with the strict comparison, let's just go ahead and let's turn this back. You know what, now I'm going to copy this whole thing because I like that example the way it is. So let's comment that out, copy this, paste it in there rather, and let's do 30. So this is going to give us wrong data type. Well, in the last lesson, we talked about typecasting or variable casting. Let's go ahead and force this to be a number. Number, bam, it works. So we had originally a string and we said, oh, this is a string. We're expecting it to be a number. Moving forward, we always want this to be a number. So we overwrote the variable called age. We typecasted it as a number, and the parameter for the number function that we see here is basically that. And it output 30 as a number. And so now when we do the strict comparison, it works. So that is all we have for more comparison operators. Definitely take a few minutes out of your day and tinker with these, especially the last one with strict comparisons. This is a very important one. All the other ones, I think most people, for the most part, can get them pretty quickly. It's really just, hey, is one number bigger than the other number? Or does one thing match something else? You don't need to be a professional at this point. You just need to be somewhat familiar so that in the next mini project, when you are asked to create a strict comparison, or you are asked to write some code for a client or your next employer, and you see something like this, you don't go, what is that? You can say, oh, I know exactly what that is. So there we go, setting you up for success. When you're done that, let's head on over to that next lesson. And actually, I think the next lesson is going to be a mini project. So let's have some fun with that.